Dan, and this is again half of the Witches of the Crystal Garden. Luckily, we are still in quarantine, so Joan and I cannot do another video together until it's done, and you're going to be stuck with just me. In this episode, I'm going to go over tarot and how I read it. This is definitely my way of doing it. It does not mean it's your way. It does not mean it's the correct way or whatever. This is just how I do it, and this is what makes sense to me mostly. If it doesn't make sense to you, I'm sorry. Starting off, I do want to say that I am leaning way more into secular witch than I was at the beginning of my journey. I use a lot of manifesting of energy and really looking inside on what I need to be answered. I do think that there is something kind of like weird with it, that like I get a read on people that I don't even know, and I can't really explain all that, but that's how I read it. I just kind of go with it. Starting off on the basics of how I read tarot and how I would suggest people start off is definitely do your research on the cards. I have a terrible memory, so I actually keep a book on the cards with me at all times, and I don't know how other people really feel about it, but I use the same book on every deck of cards I get. And a lot of times when you get a deck of cards, you get it and it has like a little like side thing that's like, oh, this card means this and this and this, but they're always like slightly variant to like what the other person has said. Like you can look it online, you can read in a book, and like generally there's a lot that have like the same flow, but like the bottom line or like how they word it is like different, and I don't like that. I don't like when my cards mean different things from different decks. And it's not that it isn't, it's just like I've already decided that this card means this, and if my cards are feeding off my energy or whatever, then they know that's what it is. I also do not read upside down or inverted or whatever you want to say cards. I don't do that. I only read right side up. It just is what it is. I think a lot of it is, as long as you know what you're reading, then your cards will know what you're reading, even if that sounds kind of crazy. So when I read, I use the same book, which I actually got with one deck of cards for all of my decks. It's a nice little book, and it's good for travel size. I don't know. It has a good amount of like information in it that I just agree with. So I actually use that book with a different deck 95% of the time. It's just what I do. Also, if you can't remember them, it's not a big deal. It's not. No one cares. And if they do care, don't tell me what to do. Reading tarot is really a personal thing. A lot of divination is like that, and I'll go slightly into that right now. Divination is working with the unknown, you know? I've done a good amount of divination. I can't say that I am an expert at all. I just think that there's so much that goes into it. When you're doing your research, you can get a lot of different answers for the same thing. So in divination, a lot of it is, visuals and feelings and, representations. If you're doing like scrying, it's all about what you see in whatever you're looking at. I tend to use water or a candle. A lot of it has to do with whatever you see, and let's say you see a rabbit, and that means fertility to some. Others it means, prey. I don't know. If you look it up, I'm just saying, you'll get a lot of different answers. So kind of go with what you feel. It's always good to get suggestions. So if you're like, I have no idea what a pansy flower could possibly mean, and for some reason that you just know that's what you saw, then look it up and you can get some feel for what other people typically feel that way, and then you can kind of put it together yourself. When it comes to divination, it is 95% just what your interpretation of what you see is. So if you're scrying, or if you're reading tea leaves or tarot, it's how you interpret it. And if you think about how like it's you reading it, you can't really be wrong. I mean, like you can be wrong, but if you have a gut feeling that like this means this, then go with it. That's what it is. And that was one of the things I learned about tarot, that you read each card and what they are, but you kind of go with your gut on why it means that or what it could possibly mean. I think when you're looking at a card and going, this only makes sense if this is like this because of this, I get the self-destruction card all the time. I don't know why, but I do know why, because I don't, anyways, I get that card a lot. I don't think it's because I am self-destructive. I don't think it's because I'm currently being self-destructive. I think it's because I could allow myself to be. I'm not pushing hard enough to be where I want to be, kind of deal, you know? It's just that I won't be happy. I will feel like I've destroyed myself if I don't pursue what I need to. If that makes sense. But that's how I take it. You get a bad card doesn't mean it's a bad card. It means other things. Like if you start talking about it, it makes a lot of sense. I know someone who gets the Three of Swords a lot. And, you know, that one is more for heartbreak and for betrayal. But that's not really the case with them. They never really experience betrayal. And I think that's because that's the biggest thing that they're worried about. And it affects how they take situations. They'll get that and they'll be like, I'm about to be betrayed right now. Do I need to fight somebody? And I'm like, no. It's because you're nervous that you're going to. And that's going to ruin the moment, you know? Kind of like that. I'm kind of rambling a lot. Go with your gut and write it down. That's the one thing that I'd like to say. Write it down. Write whatever it is that you read down, because you are not going to remember it very well. Or maybe it's me again. But I have a terrible, terrible memory. And so if I do more than a 3 reading, if I do more than 2 card reading, I'm like, so in this card, this is what's going on. It totally affects the other card and then I have to relook it up. Just jot it down. Just something to like work off of, at least in the beginning, because I've done readings where it's like, you know, more like 14, 15 cards or whatever, and you're like halfway through and you're trying to be like, oh, these are all connecting. They're all connecting. Look at this one and this one. I don't remember what that one was even about, but I know it's working. So write it down. Alright, next, I'm going to slightly go over what I was told when I got my cards and how to treat them, and I'll tell you my experience with that. When I first got into tarot, someone told me that you have to grow a relationship with your deck, and it sounds really silly, and it sounds really, like, kind of crazy, and at the time I was like, maybe. And they were like, literally sleep with it in your bed, like it should be right next to your pillow. And I was like, you're gonna tell me I have to put this deck in my bed with me? And I've done that every deck. I name my decks, and I do, like, the first like few days that I have them, I carry them in my purse. I have them on me a lot, but I don't read from them for a little while, because I don't know, I just feel like you should grow a relationship. Take her out on a date before you even ask for any answers. You know what I mean? I think that's important. In a tarot deck, you get 78 cards. 22 of them are your major arcana, 56 are your minor arcana. So your major ones are like the ones that have the words at the bottom. They're not part of a suit. So the Fool, Death, Judgment, those ones. Usually how I was taught, or how I like researched and figured it all out, was that the major cards are, if they're in your spread, they have a greater importance. But yeah, so the major arcana would be like life-changing events, bigger things that really affect you, and all that kind of stuff. Major cards are majorly important. Not that the other cards aren't. Your minor ones are all the cards that are in the suits. So like typically they are wands, swords, cups, and pentacles. They do change in each deck. Sometimes they just completely use something different. Sometimes they use some of them. Sometimes they kind of like play with them. But they usually do represent one of those 4. Each one has 10 cards that are like the Ace of Wands, the 2 of Wands, the 3 of Wands. Then they have the 4 court cards, which are like the Page, the Knight, King, Queen, that kind of business. I have one deck that they call them the Son, the Daughter, the Mother, and the Father card. So again, sometimes they switch it up, but they do generally represent the same thing. They just creatively kind of different. The Suit of Cups usually generally represents your emotion, your intention, your creativity, very personal emotional things. Your swords represent your thoughts and your words, which I have a very close connection with swords. I think that's mostly because I'm a very like in my head person, and I do a lot of my turmoil is my own. So I think for me, a lot of it is a sword thing. So I connect with swords, and I 100% say that stuff is you. Again, if that's not how you feel, then that's fine. but that's how I feel. So wands are more like passion and kind of what like you're striving for, like whatever motivates you to kind of keep going. That's kind of a wand thing, which I think is cool. I agree with. And pentacles are more like materialistic kind of things, like things in the material world that are affecting you. Cups are emotions, swords are thoughts, wand is your motivation and passion, pentacles are the material world and how they affect you. So yeah, the minor, I didn't say it at the beginning, but the minor arcana is more of your day-to-day life. It's smaller things, it's things that build up into the final reading, whereas the major is major things that are happening. If you have a lot of major cards, major arcana cards, usually shows that you're going through something, and it's something that's like big. It's more important, not even important, but you're not dealing with the day-to-day life when you're doing the major arcana. It's more of like a lot. Again, a lot of those cards in reverse, they mean something else. That's entirely up to you if you want to take that or not. So now I'm going to show you some of my decks and why I love them. Okay, so I am going to show you my 4 favorite decks of tarot cards, and I'll show you a few of the pictures from them. And yeah, so the first deck I'm going to go over is a little bit of an older one. This one you've probably seen out and about. It's the Wild Unknown Tarot deck. This deck is really cool, and it comes with its own book. So this is the book that has all of the tarot cards in it and what they mean. And this is the book that I carry around with me because it's a good book. I like it, and it's pretty durable. And the deck is cool. So the cards kind of look like this, which is really pretty. You know, I really like the black and white with a little bit of like color in it. It's beautiful, right? Again, like, it's great. And these are great because I think cards that represent what the card is about makes it easier to remember. So these ones and how they are in the book make it extremely easy to like understand what they mean. Like I just know the feeling of this card is really in your face. Sometimes that can be a little much because then it dictates how you feel on the card because of the visualization. So sometimes abstract things work really good too. But this one, like, you remember the cards better. So if you're starting off and you want a deck that's not really abstract to help you remember, this one's great. It's like super affordable, and you can get it a lot of places. So I definitely recommend it. Comes with the book, which is also great. Next you have the Luminous Void, and I absolutely love this deck. It is very abstract, very watercolor, so freaking pretty. And watch this. Are you ready? Look at those cards. Like, are you joking me? They are the cutest, slightly creepiest pictures I have ever seen, and I love this deck. I love this deck so much. I will tag all the decks that I have down below. I'll tag their Instagrams or whatever. Absolutely love this one. It does come with a little book of its own, very tiny, and it has what each card means, like, very quickly. The next card deck is this beautiful deck called the Dreamweaver Tarot, and this deck is also full of surprises. Are you ready for this? Look how pretty that back is. All the backs are like that. And then, bam. Gorgeous. And they're all so cool. Oh, this one's my favorite. It really is. Absolutely. Just, I can't with this deck. It is so pretty. And you get really good vibes from it. So this one I use a lot more now. It's one of my newer decks, and I use it a good deal. And it's my most showy deck, so when I want to show off, I pull it out. The last tarot deck is my go-to. She is She's just my homegirl, this one. I love it. Again, open it up. Beautiful. I mean, I'm really big on artwork, so like gorgeous. This one, I really like. The only thing is sometimes the pictures don't feel like they represent what they do. Like it's beautiful, but I don't really quite feel like it's more abstract, which I kind of like because then it can't really dictate how I feel. But they are gorgeous. This one comes with a little book. I think it's in the back of this. It's really small, and it has like not poems, but like poetic answers to all of them. So if you're like new to tarot, I would buy a book if you're gonna get like a deck like this. And yeah, so this one right here is the one that I carry with me everywhere. I'll tell you her name. I didn't tell you all the rest of her name, but this one is my old reliable. So she's the Ophelia Rosa Tarot deck, and I call her Ophelia, and I know it's just because of that, but I love Ophelia, and she's great, and she's the one who calls me out on my shit, honestly. Like, I read this one, and I'm just like, man, gotta get my stuff together. So that was a little bit of a weird, rambly, not written down or really thought out tarot talk, and I just basically rambled. So apologize for not ever being organized. I need Joan. But yeah, if this helped at all, will you let me know, because obviously I don't know if I am being helpful. You know the drill at this point. Subscribe, like, comment, follow me on Instagram. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have more questions on tarot, you can ask me. Like I said, I have been doing it for a while, but I never say that I am an expert on anything, because I'm always learning things or relearning things, because I forget things quite often. So thanks again for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.